welcome Jana and Nico. We have this is the first official, but actually the second conversation we're having for the podcast. So we already released some parts which for me were very, important to hear the exchange between Nico and Jana, and about, for me, it was really about solidarity, but also solidarity as a strategic understanding between migrants and refugees, which might not be treated the same, but are, basically struggling in a similar way. And I think I think that the insight that I take from there is, how can we let go of the divisions that are coming and are polarizing us, and really take the opportunity to be together in this moment of difficulty. So Jana, just for people listening, is a joker, a practitioner of theater of the oppressed, and I would say, community weaver and organizer from Ukraine, who has been instrumental in moving certain movements and organizations in Ukraine of theater of the oppressed, theater for dialogue, theater for change, and she might share a little bit more of that. And I had the pleasure to work with Diana in Unlock the News and the Joker Exchange in other moments, and I always find so much insights and inspiration from the work you are doing. Currently, Jana is in Poland, as many other Ukrainians that are seeking, a more calm situation, especially for children, as the war that started in 2014 intensified and became a full-on invasion into Ukraine by Russia, which makes life very difficult. Today we're having a conversation. I'll hand it to Nico, to you, to add a little bit more and maybe ask the first question. And thank you again, Jana, for joining us today.
Okay, I'll say thank you again, Jana, as well. I don't have questions as well. I was not really planned much, but I think, as we said, we'll continue where we left. I still remember some things. But the other thing I just shared, like some people have been asking me, something very simple that I never pay attention to it. Like, oh, Nico, did you ever meet any Ukrainian refugee in Scotland? I'm like, no. So what are we talking about? That's me like trying to think. If I really want to talk about other migrants and stuff, I need to start hunting them down, not in a bad way. I mean, like to actually hear more stories in person than using social media and stuff. So that question stays with me until today. Like, yeah, did you ever meet any Ukraine refugee? I was like, no, I never thought about that. But I think it's it wakes me up on the side of work, like to do, like if you want to create a nice stories and stuff and raise awareness, you need to talk to people lived experience. And so I think that's that. The other thing I really appreciate, Jana, to join us on the podcast and to be part of this sharing stuff. As I said, I think I would prefer maybe Uri to do the head thing stuff, because I didn't come up with any like really questions than only sharing what my views are on these situations. And maybe the question would be like, for all of us, how far are we going about this idea of this podcast? I mean, like for these topics we have now, because one off, it can die within like weeks. But I'm not saying we should take this as a full-time job as well. We need to just balance like and stuff. The UK is a mess in the moment. I can't even begin to start about how the things work here, because the parliament will become like a house party now. They don't talk much about migrants as other countries. In the UK, they're focusing on replacing Boris. I don't know, even if Yana, she's got a question for me, I'm happy as well, just to actually, speak something more, if you got anything for me.
Maybe you can tell your story, like how you move to the UK from Zimbabwe, and actually just not to compare, but just to have different stories of people seeking asylum and being in exile and facing various difficulties and challenges on that way.
Yeah, there's one story I always wanted to share. It was 2013 here in Glasgow when I was under asylum. Like there's this organization ran housings for asylum seekers, funded by the government, but the treatment is horrible. So what happened in 2013? I volunteered in different places. So one day I came from volunteering. My case was a little bit like no new application was not finished, but yeah, I was nothing put in on the government because I was refused. I have to appeal and appeal. So I come back, I like put the key. I can tell that someone is inside in the house, and they have this system in the UK that time that they still do it. If your case is no longer on the home office, they'll change the locks and they throw your stuff out and you become homeless. And so the first attempt, poor guy was still changing the locks. And then I see him, then he opened the door. He's like, oh, sorry, I have to do this. I'm like, well, I'm calling the BBC, because I was smart trying to scare him, because they don't want the media to get involved. So it's like, no, okay, the boss is downstairs. And then they came, two men, the suit, as a refugee, like the fear they put on us, it's like kind of like, you can't speak anymore. But not me. I'm not like that, because I knew my rights. I knew what was going on. So I didn't really worry much about them. So not to take story too long. So they came, they said, okay, we'll give you 3 days, because they do it on the weekend, then you have to move out of the house. Where should I go? And I mean, so I end up staying in that house another year because I keep on I refusing to leave, because according to the law, they're not physical hold you and throw you out. They cannot. It's only like if you leave the house, but I leave. So I think, finally they kicked me out. I come back, my stuff was gone. That's why I began to be homeless. And I never thought homeless we always think about homeless like when you hear it, maybe like, we hear it from people saying, but when it comes to you, I had a very slight change of my life. Was like, I lost everything. I got nowhere to go. I have no rights to be anything. I don't know anyone except the charities, and the charities are also full of people. They couldn't help much. But until I get this any project I volunteer with until today, they helped me to get space to live. So the reason I'm sharing this story, I'm just wondering that, like, for example, we don't know how many other refugees from different countries, especially like now from Ukraine, who end up on the street. Because I hear stories, I'm not 100% sure, that in UK, some people volunteer to accommodate people from Ukraine, and then end up in some accident like sexual assault. I'm not saying I've seen that, but things like that. There's so many bad treatment comes to this, because the government never assess these people who actually take the Ukrainian refugees. Some of them never assessed if it's a criminal or what. It's just like, goes need a space. So that's why I'm trying to, as I said, someone asked me if I meet Ukrainian refugees yet. I said no, which means I think that I got an idea. Telling my story like I'm telling now, and then find how safe these people are, even if the government set up the scheme of paying the UK citizens to look after the Ukrainian people without any proper assessment, what's called assessed. So that's my idea, like, to really get dig deep to find out, is this thing true happening? Or yeah, what's the safe measures of these the people coming? Because sometimes it's say welcome to my house, you know, or whatever it is. Then within a day or two, things changed. I don't know if that makes sense to you, Anna. Like, for example, if you maybe got similar stories in other countries, like since the war started, I'm not sure. Or I mean, like if my story makes sense, or we can ask questions as well on top of what I just said.
Thank you for sharing that. Just maybe to clarify, like your request is whether there are some Ukrainians who were kicked out of the house by their owners. I mean, I don't know such a friends like here, like those people who I definitely know very well, and I could confirm it. But from time to time, in like some different social groups or channels where Ukrainians communicate, like in different cities, like, or you know, moms with children, I might come across certain messages that I need to leave this accommodation soon, or just you know, I have several days or even one day, even though my child is with fever or whatever. But yeah, there are similar cases, but I mean, of course, it's not goes to this legal level in terms of some procedures, you know, how it's related, and maybe it's also another side that you don't have a procedure, you don't know what to do and how to, let's say, argue or appeal against the actions of the people, what they're doing. And I really support you in that way, that I think this is just an awful practice, just to assess people if they are criminals or not in general. And I might say, because after our discussion last week, I did a presentation on European Green Academy, and we have a roundtable on refugees, integration and migration in Europe. And basically, because of many people who were from Poland and other people, I just realized that actually I'm trying really to, you know, protect the rights of Ukrainians in the country, which actually very xenophobic towards asylum seekers and refugees. Like Ukrainians is the first group of people who, let's say, they accepted in such quantity without, let's say, certain bureaucratic challenges and from legal point of view. But many civil society organizations who are working to support refugees and asylum seekers are criminalized. They are prosecuted for what they're doing. And I heard many stories when NGO was helping some other refugees, and they were already in very bad relations with the government and with law enforcement agencies. And then when they started to do the same for Ukrainians, the same people came to them and say, hey, please share your practice. And these people say, I just need to bomb out, because before, when I did help to the same people from another country, I was an enemy, and I got prosecution. And now they want to partner with me because I do have experience, and they want to learn about my practices. And this is just like, it's just schizophrenia, I could say, because it doesn't matter who are these people and who are that people. They just people who are really try to find a safe place for them. And in this way, it's for me just really very bright story that many issues actually need to be done just to improve this asylum system in general and our I don't know, position of any country, of anyone about this. Because, I mean, I don't know what are the reasons why now EU opened this directive, particularly for Ukrainians. I could have just assumptions. They feel guilty. They feel responsible for the policy they did before, etc., etc. But we must say the same for many wars and many conflicts that happened in any other countries. That a lot of the same countries stand behind the decisions and any actions that lead to any other conflicts that provoke people to leave their country, provoke people to search for asylum, for safe place for them, for their relatives and beloved ones in any other countries. And so then it also doesn't make sense. And we really need to review this idea, because now when I'm looking at this economic sanctions and all of this, we really could see how all of us, all the society, all the world is connected. We cannot really live like separately, and we really need to find this concept of shared responsibility. Like now, because of many technologies, because of many processes, when we have the world globalized, we really need to recognize finally that each and every country depends on the level of power and impact they have on certain processes. They do share this responsibility. And if so, then they just need to share this responsibility not only in political and economical area, but the same in the migration area, because they are interconnected. A lot of them influence political decisions and economical decisions, influence the migration flows. They are very much connected, and we need to think about that.
Yeah, that's really powerful for me. Yeah, as you said, there's lots of issues coming on this. On my side, I think as I said last week, the way people treated different stuff. But I realized that the UK system is designed to actually destroy the poor people, like asylum seekers, refugees. Most of the people I know the past 18 years, when they arrive from, let's say, Ethiopia or Sudan or other places in Africa, this guy used to be like a very professional person. He was, looking healthy. Now he's in the street drinking beer and taking drugs. He can't even remember me. He can't remember lots of things. But that's what that government wants. They're like, so I'm trying to tell people on my communities, like, don't let them get to you. I know it's hard, but that's what they want. So I'm trying to find a way how to raise awareness on staying strong, which is hard in some cases. You can't really, I don't know everybody's case, what happened, why they're here. But the way the system is designed in the UK is really destroying lots of us. I talk a lot about mental health in so many workshops, but in our communities, mental health is something taboo. Not really taboo. It's very slow to understand there's lack of education as well on that topic. But I'm not going to go deep on that. So yeah, those are things like what I'm trying to say here. I'm trying to find ways to actually raise awareness both sides. Doesn't matter what a refugee is, where you're from Afghanistan or Ukraine, African stuff. It's just to find a way to challenge this system just set up to kill people psychologically. Because in the UK, not allowed to work. And you get like £5 a day. And now the food cost is like, Yeah. So I don't know. I know maybe this out of this podcast topic, but I'm just gonna move it to Uri. Maybe you can help us come up with some answers and questions.
Yeah, I think there is I was taking notes, and I think it's really important, this conversation we're having, for different reasons. I've been working in this system or around the issue of migration for some years now, here in Italy. And I think there are certain things that are shared now, and I think it's important to give them names and flesh them out, like racism. Like, there is racism, and it completely influences the system of migration, and that's one of the we can name it in different ways. And also, I think it's important that even racism, we must humanize racism. Let's say we need to understand where it's coming from, because it's not something, racism can happen from all different ways. And basically, if we connect with the human basic goodness concept, which I love, is that it comes from this idea of community, right? So this is my community, this is the people like me, and this is the people that look like me, and this is the people that don't look like me, and they are others, and we are that, and that's, and then there is the story of who is what, so these people are like that, and our people are like that, and that's different somehow, so, and all this story of people and races, and it's a story, right? So this is also scientifically approved. We are one race, like that 99% of our DNA is the same. Then there is certain differences, but they're mostly external appearance, which is probably connected with this same necessity of identity of people like me, and that thing which has to do with how we're built as human beings, as social beings. We are social beings, and we need to be connected to other people. If you put a human being on its own in isolation, they will basically die. They would be desperate, and they will die. The human beings are meant to be with other human beings. And so I think but we need to understand where racism, but we also need to name it. There is racism. The system is filled with racism, and we need to figure out how to meet that racism in the system and make it explicit, that it's a problem. It's a problem. And also, it's a problem not just in the asylum system, it's a problem in general, in how we manage the world. And I want to kind of bring it to something else, kind of put something else even. So we put refugees from Africa, from Afghanistan, from Ukraine, but it's hot. I don't know how it's hot with you, but it's hot, like it's the hottest summer in Europe ever. and we're here in Italy, we're hitting 38 degrees day after day after day, and it's impossible to sleep in the house. We need to move to the downstairs. And I just read the news, one of the articles, Europe is the hottest ever, and it started burning coal again in many places because of not being able to get as many gas from Russia. And so, and I wonder, how does that connect for you? How does that question of refugees' rights and also the war in Ukraine and the whole situation we're living through, how is that connected with what's going on with the environment, with our home? And how can, and I'm involved with some writing of projects around that actually right now. So I'm really curious with that. How can we actually make that an opportunity? How can the migration waves that are going to come more for different reasons, a lot of them connected with climate, how can we leverage that to actually start doing something about this situation, which is a collective suicide? We're on a path of collective suicide. and how do we deal with that? How do we take you know, the accumulating problems that were and social conflicts that is created into something creative and active. And again, to even add more to the, how can arts and theater be part of that, or comedy for you?
I might start. Thank you, Uri, for this kind of challenging question. But maybe actually the escalation of war in Ukraine really shows how all of this is connected. Because now in the last news from EU was they really would like to decrease the consumption of gas by 15% in general in EU, just because they don't want to be threatened by another country with which they already set before some agreements. And you know, they used, let's say, we used to supply certain amounts of energy, gas, in oil, whatever, and we used to that, and we are not thinking how these resources could be used to cause the conflict and actually cause the, just in general, the disaster for many people. Like if we talk about UK, just yesterday I heard that now, because they will raise the prices for heating, like 1/3 of all the UK households on the level they might not afford paying that. It means that this war and the way how before it was the standard we supply the energy, and it applies to Ukraine as well. We are the country which is very big, and we will never save, we don't have any saving technologies. The way we consume the energy, for me, it's like putting my hand and just don't look at you at all, because in any flat, like even if you want really to make some, you know, way you can switch off what you don't need, or it's impossible. You just have central heating. Doesn't matter if winter is warm or it's cold, it heats almost the same. Okay, they somehow maybe can regulate it somewhere, but it's not me who actually, for example, leave for, I don't know, 4 months for some holiday and decide, okay, this month I won't use it at all, yeah, or, you know, I want to use it on the level of 18 degrees, or no, it's not possible. And all our housing system, it's not designed in a way that we really have to think about it. Maybe now we will start thinking about this, because now the cost of this fuel and energy and gas will be expensive for anyone in the world. And we really need to think, do we really want this kind of amount to be supplied and being used also for conflicts or not? And of course, Uri, there is a term of climate refugees. It already exists for many years. I mean, when I was working in UNHCR or at IM, I don't know, it was already several, you know, scientific concepts, or all of this was coming out that we need to be ready. This is a new trend, blah, 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 all of this. And for me, just the conflict, the escalation of war in Ukraine by Russia just shows in, let's say, apogee of this badly constructed system without any care about nature, and that also actually it destroys everything, because war destroys nature, destroys people, and we now cannot thinking about anything like creative, caring, etc. And I mean, it's very brightly shows that the system we built is not working, and it killing us. Actually, the way we created it, it just we will be the people who will feel all the consequences of the energy consumption system we built. And once again, it's so much interconnected on the global level, and yeah, all of this need to be revived, and we need to find a new way how to use resources of the planet in a way that it will not cause harm to us and not harm to the planet.
Okay. Yeah, I like the both of you the way you brought the climate change issue, because I'm sitting on the idea right now to do a COP26 reflections and see how many people really because I was involved in COP26 a bit with Uri as well. Everybody was doing some things, but I was in Glasgow, so I was hosting few people staying with me, and then went so many workshops. But now, believe me or not, I never had a word about climate change in Scottish government in the moment. Maybe they say it in the closed doors, but I mean, like, even the public, I'll tell you, it's not a joke, it's a true story. During the COP26, Boris Johnson brought these nice buses from London. They were all over in Glasgow. Beautiful, was nice. Now there's a smoke again in Glasgow. It's like, see the bus I never seen for years. It's back on the road and it's making this noise and the smoke is everywhere. I'm thinking, maybe this thing was a joke, was just like a festival, I mean, like to show a country that pretending that we are doing well, but you're not really doing great. Because maybe many activists, they don't challenge these kind of things. Maybe I don't see, but yeah, I think it's embarrassing to look at Glasgow. Maybe was a few months ago was rated as the highest what's called pollution city in the UK because of I don't know. I'm still thinking about like really do like maybe make it like a big talk with everybody was involved. People I know they're involved in COP26 to revisit their mind again and see what. It's kind of like I just want to see if people they really mean what they mean, like because it's easy to speak like say okay, I want this world to be the perfect world, but as soon as I switch off this camera, I'm doing different, which means it's quite difficult as human, of course, to be 100,000%. But I always find out the government, they always lie a lot, especially when it comes to these events like the one COP26 just gone. I remember challenging another person during the COP26. Sometimes, just to warn you, and I'm critical sometimes. I'm kind of like not too much negative, but sometimes negative it can work in the other way. Because there was one talk during the COP26, students from America, they were saying they're trying to put everybody to be a vegetarian, right? Like everyone should be a vegetarian, vegan and stuff. I put my hand up, I'm like, no, you can't actually do that because the way I'm from, the meat is expensive, sorry, the food is expensive. And there's no system like actually encouraging people to eat healthy. Then you find out these groups of people who are vegetarian vegans, they're already living a different side of Glasgow, south side of Glasgow. That you see like all the vegan hippies and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you go this other side where they don't know where they're going with the planet. They eat anything. There's no, there's no resources actually to put people together to do something good. So for her to tell me that I should be a vegetarian without giving me guidance, without any resources, there's no packages there for poor people to actually get to that system where we can have an eco-friendly or eating well. So these are other things I pick up during the COP26. So these are other things I think if we reflect and see if any other people pick up maybe something different than I thought, then you combine all these ideas and maybe we can come up with the COP27 with something, even on the theater side as well. You know what I mean? Like there's so much can be done. So that's my version when it comes to climate change and my experience as well, and my imagination about how to do things accordingly. Like if everybody can fit in, special eating health. Don't get me wrong, I love vegetarian food, but I don't cook it because I don't know much. But I'm not very fast when it comes to eating. But I always make a joke. When I was little, my mom, she shoved a meat in my mouth. That's African culture, you know. That's what we know when we were there, because we didn't know anything about those things. But life changes. I changed a lot in my life the past 20 years. And I understand how the world works a little bit, than if you talk to me like 20 years back, I wouldn't understand what vegetarian means. Because back home when we have no meat, we just eat vegetables. So we grew up actually eating veg more than meat because we couldn't afford it. Some people didn't have animals. So yeah, there is something there. So I think in that part, I think that I need some more clarity. I need some people who are vegetarians, maybe some of you, just to think what I was saying, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm not a vegetarian, but I don't eat so much meat. I think I feel for me the problem is that there is we tend to go to these absolute solutions too much without looking at what's around us. So we looked as a family. We watched this Pianeta Verde, the Green Planet. It's really it's a French film actually, but I think you can find it in more languages, even free on YouTube sometimes, or it's actually it's quite nice. You know, it talks of this other planet which people are living in harmony with nature and they have telepathy, and then they send someone to Earth. Nobody wants to go, and then someone goes, and it kind of sees a lot of the patterns, you know. I think it's a great film. It has this problem of this utopic future present in which things are kind of in a harmony, and that's tends to be not really accessible for anyone, because the problem is we build too much idealism or ideas, and it kind of we are caught in the contradiction, you know. And so my daughter the other evening when she was very moved by the movie, and also before that with this whole environmental like let's go, and you know she just wanted to go and live outside and leave all the things, and you know, and that everybody do that. And we might do that. We might go to some place in a year and experiment with that. But I also told, and I still feel that we need to be able to build a bridge to that future, present, past, because we are where we are, and also where we are has things that we need to, you know, I'm quite sure that the future is nothing like what has been, and nothing like we can imagine now. We're creating it.